Math, and today we're going to do algebra. So we're going to focus on the factor theorem. So it's one of the big topics in algebra. So what we're going to do is we're going to find the roots of a cubic equation. So we'll just say, when we say the root of a cubic equation, it's basically where it cuts the x-axis. So a cubic equation generally cuts the x-axis three points. So we'll have to find the roots, which are here in this case be -4, -2, and let's say 1. Okay. So we need to know how to find the roots, and we need to divide it to get the roots. So we'll just explain it. Okay, so that's the step, what we have to do. So we'll get a cubic equation. Basically, we've nothing else to work with, so we'll have to do a bit of trial and error. We'll have to sub into the equation. So like if -4 is a root, that means if I sub -4 into the equation, I get 0. And similarly, -2 into the equation, I get 0. So if -4 is a root, x plus 4 is a factor. Okay, so roots and factors, they're opposite signs. So we'll be working with that. So we basically, once we know the root, we divide by the factor. Okay, so and then we factorize our quadratic. We end up with a quadratic generally. Okay, so we'll just show you how it's done. Really, same process all the time. So we start from scratch. Let's say you just give a cubic equation and they ask you to solve it. Okay, so what are we looking for? Okay, if a cubic looks like this, we want to find where it cuts the x-axis here, because it's just a sample here and obviously here. Find these 3 points. Okay, so that means if whatever the root is, if I sub it into the equation, I have to get 0, because the root will be x 0, because we know that the y value will be 0. All right, so f of x is y. Okay, so we put in our number in here and we get 0 as an answer. So we've nothing to work with, so we just do trial and error. So generally you just start off with the basic numbers 1, -1, and so on and so forth. Okay, they're not going to have a massive root of like 10 as your first root. Okay, so it should be a small enough number. Right, so we'll test it out here. So we'll try 1. Okay, so you can do it in the calculator, probably have to show your workings. So 1 cubed, let's set it up here. Let me see what we get. We sub it in. So I substituted 1 in for x. No, you could start off with -1. It's up to yourself, like which number. Generally 1, -1, pick one or the other and see what we get. Okay, so if we do that, so 1 cubed is 1, that'll be -3, that'll be -1, and that'll be +3. Okay. Therefore, when I work that out, -3 + 3 cancel, 1 - 1 cancel, I will get 0. So it does work out. So that means 1 is a root. So one of the roots, let's say, will be 1. So if 1's a root, therefore x - 1 is a factor. Okay. Right. So right. Right, so what we do is we divide the factor into the cubic. So here, in this case, so we find a number that goes in even into the equation, 1 - 1, that didn't work, 2 - 2, so on. Okay, so it shouldn't be a big number. And then once we know the root, the opposite is a factor, right? So we're going to divide x - 1. Okay, right. We're going to divide x - 1 into this cubic equation. Okay, so we'll start it here now. Right, I'll just do a bit of rough work here. There's a bit of indices rule. So that's done. Right. So what we say is we go, it's x cubed divided by x. Right. So x cubed, just a little rough work here, divided by x. And obviously x is the power of 1. So we're dividing powers. You just subtract them. So we get x squared. Okay, so that's your indices rule. When you're dividing power with the same base, you can subtract them. So x cubed divided by x1 is x2, and we put it up here then. Okay, so whatever answer I get up here, I multiply back in. Okay, so I'm going to multiply this into this equation here. So x squared multiplied by x, again we're multiplying powers, you just add them because the base is the same as in x, that'll be x cubed. Right, then x squared by 1 is minus 1x squared. Okay, and now what we're going to do, we're going to subtract. So I'll just change the color. We're going to say top minus the bottom. So bottom, that'll go to minus, and that minus now will be minus from minus, so that'll go to plus. We end up just basically changing the sign. So it's top line minus bottom line, so that'll be go to 0, minus 3x squared plus 1x squared. Okay, that'll be minus 2x squared. So that's the key. Like you basically subtract, so you end up changing your signs. So what I did there again was it's x cubed minus x cubed, so I'll go to 0. It's minus 3x squared, but you see I'm minusing this, so that'll come to a plus. So I actually take the red side. Okay, so I generally do a different color so I don't get confused which one I'm doing. Okay, so basically whatever answer, when you first did it, you just basically reverse the signs when you subtract it. Okay, so I have minus 2x squared. Then what I do is I bring down my next number. Okay, that'd be minus x. So bring down minus x here. Right, and now I'm working with this minus 2x squared. So we'll just do a little rough work here. Minus 2x squared, and you're dividing that by x. You're always dividing by x. Whatever this number is, you divide it by it. So in this case, it's x. So what is minus 2x squared divided by x? Well, so it's really minus 2 divided by 1 is minus 2. And then x squared divided by x is your indices rule again. It's minus 2x. So that'll be minus 2x up here. Right. And again, whatever answer I get, I multiply back in. So I have to multiply this back in to this part here. So x minus 1. Okay. So it'll be minus 2x by x is minus 2x squared. And then minus 2x by minus 1 is plus 2x. Right. Now, and now I subtract. So again, I'm going to change my sign. So that'll become a plus, and that plus becomes a minus. Right, and then you see it'll be minus 2x plus 2x. That will go. I'll go to 0. It's gone. And then it's minus x minus 2x. So I'm subtracting the two of them. So right, let's get this going. So it'll be minus 3x. Right, and then again, I'll bring this down. Plus 3. And now I'm dividing by this. It's the minus 3x now I'm going to divide by. So how was the first number you divide by? Okay, so we'll do a few. So it's minus 3x divided by x. Okay, the x will cancel here, so that'll be minus 3. Okay. minus 3 here. And again, I'm going to multiply this by the x minus 1. So wherever I get on top, I just need to multiply by the x minus 1. So minus 3 by x is minus 3x. And minus 3 by minus 1 is plus 3. Okay, and again, change your sign. That minus becomes a plus, that plus becomes a minus. I subtract that, I get 0. They all go to 0. Now I have to get 0 as an answer. That's how I know I've done it right. You have to get 0 as an answer. Okay, so we're nearly done. So what I got was, okay, we have to, the question is solve. So we have to get we have 3 roots, okay? So we know 1's a root because that worked out. And x minus 1 is a factor, but 1 is one of the answers. So we need to get the other 2 answers. Now I have a quadratic. So we have a quadratic. And we'll just write it in. Okay, and what I need to do here now, I need to factorize this quadratic. Right, it's factors of x squared, x, and x. The factors of minus 3, okay, 3 and 1. Yeah, but one of them has to be a minus. One has to be a plus. But I got factors of minus 3, so one has to be a plus and one has to be a minus. Right, and how do I know which one I've done right? Well, you have to get minus 2x when you multiply 2 closest and 2 furthest. That's minus 3x. That's 1x. So that'll be, I'll just show you. Probably know this anyway. So minus 3x and 1x is minus 2x, which I have to get. Okay, right. So they're my factors, but I need the roots. So you just give it back. So if x minus 3 is a factor, the opposite is the root. So x equals 3. So you just x minus 3. Just set the bracket equals 0. So for x, we'll just show the steps. So x equals 3. X plus 1. That's a factor. So what does x equal? X has to equal minus 1. Okay, so I've got all my roots now. And just give back your answers. What are my roots? Well, my roots are 1 from the earlier on, minus 1, got here, and 3. Let's put a bracket on that. Okay, so that's how you solve a cubic equation, right? So just a few, start again. You have to sub in whatever number, 1, minus 1, 2, minus 2, until you get a 0. And then the number that'll be a root. So therefore, if 1's a root, x minus 1's a factor, and you divide into factor. So you always divide into factor. Okay, and when you divide into factor, you'll get a quadratic here, and you'll have, okay, and it has to go to 0 here, so you know I've done it right. So you'll factorize the quadratic and solve for x, and there you go. So we'll try another one. Okay, find the roots of this one, 3x cubed. So similar enough, just set it up. Right, we'll test out. So we'll go 1 again. Now 1 doesn't necessarily always have to be 1 that'll work. It could be minus 1. So we'll just see what we get for 1. So we'll just try 1. Okay, so we'll just set it up. Sub 1 into this equation. So if I do that, I'll just do it quick here. 1 cubed, that'll be 3. That'll be minus 4. That'll be minus 3. Okay, and I get plus 4. Yes, it's grand. And what does that go to? That goes to 0. Right, so straight away 1 will work. So therefore, So we'll divide it in. Okay, so set up our rough work here. So it'll be this time it'll be 3x cubed divided by x. So that'll be 2x squared. So x cubed divided by x is x squared, and sorry, what am I saying? 3x squared. That'll be. Okay, so 3 divided by 1 is 3, and x cubed divided by x squared, x1 is x squared. So 3x squared. And then I multiply back in, so that'll be 3x cubed minus 3x squared. And again, I'll change my sign. That'll become a minus, that'll become a plus, because I'm subtracting. I'm basically top line minus bottom line. So that'll go to 0, minus 1x squared plus 3x squared, minus 4x squared plus 3x squared is minus 1x squared. Okay, and then bring down to minus 3x. And then now it's, okay, I'm working with this one. So it's minus 1x squared divided by x. So that'll be minus 1x. I'll multiply that in. So it'll be minus 1x squared plus x plus 1x. Again, change my sign. That'll come a plus, that'll come a minus. That'll cancel. So minus 3x minus 1x is minus 4x. Okay, and then bring down the next one, plus 4. And that'll be okay, so minus 4x divided by x, that equals minus 4. Okay, so put minus 4 here. Again, multiply back in, so minus 4 by x is minus 4x. And minus 4 minus 1 is plus 4. Okay, and then change your signs. And subtract, and I should get 0, and I do. So that's how you know you've done it right. Right, so then okay, so now my right, so we'll say you have to factorize the quadratic now. So it'll be 3x squared minus 1x. So I have to solve the roots. I need to get the roots still. I only got the quadratic. Right, factorize that. Okay, so that'll be factor 3x squared or 3x, 1x, Okay, and the factors of 4. Okay, so I have two options, either two twos or 4 by 1. I go with the 4 by 1 because I need to make a -1, so like a trial and error, but we'll test it out. Okay, factors of -4. All right, so one will have to be a minus. So I'll put a minus here and a plus here. Okay, so that'll be -4x plus 3x. Yeah, that'll work out. Okay, but it is a bit of trial and error, or whatever you do it, box way, everyone has their own way, right? So I have to get -1x when I factorize. So just a little test yourself. Two closest, two furthest. So yeah, that'll be 3x, and -4 plus 3 is 1x, -1x, which I have to get. Okay, so we just solve for x now. So 3x minus 4 is 0, and similarly x plus 1 equals 0. Okay, so for x is 3x. Let's get x on its own, bit of algebra. 3x equals 4, and x equals 4 over 3. Okay, or solve for x here, x equals -1. Right, so they're my final roots. So then you just the question is solved. Okay, so 1 was a root. Finish it off then. So 1 was a root, -1's a root, and 4 over 3 are my 3 roots. Okay, and that's my cubic. Okay, so again, just same thing. Find your roots, divide it in by the factor, which is the opposite root, and solve your quadratic and get your roots. Okay, and move on. Now, different type of one. If you get letters, sometimes they give you these type of questions. They give you the function. They might tell you what a factor is, and you have to find the missing letter. So we'll just do it here. So find p if x plus 2 is a factor. Okay, so if x plus 2 is a factor, straight away you know that x equals -2 is a root. So -2 is a root. That means if I put -2 into that equation, it has to work out. Okay, so we'll write our equation. So that's f of x, which is given. So that means I put -2 into that equation, I get 0 as an answer. So we'll do it here. We'll show our workings. We solve for p. Okay, right, so that'll be -2 cubed, be -8. That'll be plus 24 minus 2p and plus 6. Okay, now that has to equal 0. So that means if I put -2 into that function, I get an answer of 0 because -2 is a root. Okay, so we'll tidy this up. So 24 minus 8 plus 6. So it's 22. So we'll just write it out again. -2p. Let's tidy all this up. The numbers up first. Plus 22 equals 0. So -2p equals -22. So therefore p has to be, just to write them out, -22 by -2 is 11. Okay, so you just solve it in, let it equal 0 and solve for it. Right, so we'll do another one here. So if x minus 1 is a factor, find k. Right, so it's that same thing again. So if x minus 1 is a factor, that means 1 is a root. So we'll write our f of x. I will sub in, just write the equation here. So we're going to say f of 1. So f of 1 goes in this function. So I sub in 1 into this, so that'll be, still click here, 1. Sub in 1, so that'll be 1. Okay, sub in 1 here, so be 1. And put 1 in here, that'll be plus k, because be 1 squared, be 1, okay. Minus 1, minus 8. Okay, so it'll be, the ones will cancel, k minus 8 is 0, so therefore k has to be 8. Right. That's it. And the way to finish off the question is find k and find the other two roots. So you just divided x minus 1, given that k is 8, put in 8 there and just work it out. So that's factored here. Now we'll continue with a few more types of it, but it's more the method and the types of questions that come up. So what we're looking for, basically finding these roots. How do we find the roots? Basically, well, we do the trial and error, we get our root, and then we divide in the factor, we do long division, and we factorize the quadratic. And they're the steps. So that concludes today's lesson, and we'll continue that with the next lesson.